Welcome to traineego Talks. This is our very first episode, and I'm super excited to welcome today's guest. So before we start, I would just like to invite you to think back to the time when the gym floors were absolutely buzzing with personal trainers and fitness trainers. And for many gyms, that has completely changed. And we're going to ask, where are those trainers? What happened to them? I would love to welcome today our guest, Shelley, who is a regional manager. She's been leading through these changes every day. She knows the story, she knows the stats, and she absolutely knows what keeps those trainers really engaged.
Okay, my name's Shelley. I've been working within the leisure industry for 25 years now. How that time's flown is just beyond me, but equally really opened up lots of learnings, lots of kind of opportunities, but more importantly, it really allowed me to be a part of a sector that I truly love. Hence why I'm still here 25 years later.
So my first question would be probably, what happened to the trainers? Where are they, Shelley?
I think I've got a number of kind of thoughts around that. I think obviously the biggest probably spanner, hurdle, barrier, whichever way you look at it, was COVID. Obviously, COVID shut our sector down. We weren't in a position collectively to be able to protect self-employed people. So obviously that was a struggle. And I think that then allowed them, the opportunity to sit back, take stock about where their futures were heading, but also it forced them to maybe change direction. I think as well as a sector, we have phenomenal expertise. We have phenomenal and gifted people that can really make a difference, but yet we have fought for them to be recognised as professional. And that includes how they're paid, how they're valued, that kind of ongoing, continual professional development piece. And again, I think as well as a sector, potentially, maybe public more than private, people coming into it think of these roles as maybe part-time, maybe a stopgap, rather than going, actually, I could go into this and this could be my career for the longevity. So I think there's a number of factors really in there that have kind of allowed us to lose some really great people, but also it's also an opportunity to kind of think, okay, right, what do we need to do differently in order to attract those people back?
I've got good statistics as well to obviously talk about. It seems like 80% of trainers didn't come back after COVID to the industry. So what are your thoughts on that?
Again, kind of reiterates back to the point where if those trainers were low income and reverse that, they were then obviously self-employed, their income disappeared. So they had to pivot. They had to do something different. I think as well, whether we like to admit it or not, our sector isn't valued from the government. I could talk about that a little bit more, but it really kind of frustrates me that, like I said in my kind of first answer, it's a sector where we really can make a difference. And that isn't just to people, that's to the NHS and their resources. It's about the economy. It's about organisations. We reduce sick days, we build confidence, we support well-being, but yet, and again, that 80%, what was the first thing that opened after COVID? Bars. I mean, where's the kind of logic in that? If we'd have opened up our sports centres and we'd have opened up our gyms earlier, would we have been able to hold on to maybe more of those 80%? I just think the value piece, how they felt valued, how they then had to survive, was just threw them into this chaotic place where they then had to make different decisions.
So what sort of pressures are currently fitness trainers facing, or personal trainers in general, in the fitness industry, what they maybe didn't face before, and how is this sort of impacting them, or how is this sort of helping them to remain or stay in this role?
Obviously, the introduction of hybrid and online coaching is a definite challenge, more so because not every provider is allowed that kind of transition into having both. It's not all accessible. So again, you're asking PTs that potentially don't have that digitalized mindset to kind of balance things that maybe they're not confident or experienced in. They might be working in an organisation where it doesn't allow for both. But then also I think we've got many that go into PT thinking that it's a really easy way to earn lots of money, when actually it's not. It's hard work. And I think kind of you've got influencers and you've got digital coaches that have got so many clients, but I think people have not seen the background. So it's an example, Joe Wicks. Everyone goes, oh, Joe Wicks did it overnight. No, Joe Wicks took a long, long time, did the groundwork. He built up a client basis. He kind of got up at that 5 o'clock in the morning. He stayed up until that 9 o'clock at night. But he did a lot of years' work, a lot of years' graft to get him where he is right now. And I think we don't really allow the transparency and honesty around what being a PT means, because it is really hard work. Valuable and really worthwhile, absolutely, but it's hard work. And I think, kind of going back to your question, that digitalization, that online coaching opportunities, that influencer piece, Instagram, TikTok, there's so many platforms for just anyone to go and seek advice, programming, support. Not all accurate, but there is so many avenues that I think that would have taken away some of the percentage of people that would have naturally come to our gyms normally. But because there's these opportunities, it's diluting the number of people that we would potentially previously have attracted.
Right. So from your perspective as a leader and as a mentor, what sort of piece of advice would you give to a fitness trainer?
Okay, newly coming in, I think it's been my mantra from day dot. I think the qualification is literally your starting point. So you get that qualification, it allows your first door to open. So number one is there is nothing that is exceeded or is better than face-to-face. There's nothing. And that's from how you communicate. It's how you can, articulate your education and your programming. But because if you can't actually deliver that in a really, really positive, motivated, informed way, or even in the language that your client needs, it doesn't matter how much you've got up here, it's never going to translate. I think that face-to-face piece, that getting some on-the-job training is hugely important. Irrespective of whether your end goal is online, you have to know how to be with a person, how to correct a person, how to look for triggers, how to really understand what your client needs. And again, let's be honest, some of our clients only want to be motivated for an hour and talk for an hour. They don't necessarily want the exercise piece, and that's all a learning curve. Because again, I think what we need as personal trainers is to understand what we offer as a real USP, and then you really kind of maximize that in how we sell, how we educate, how we communicate, but also the clients that we want to attract. So foundational step is getting that qualification. Never stop learning as well, because it changes so quickly. Our industry, our exercises, what's good for us, what's not good for us, that changes literally within a breath. And I think if you stop learning, you miss all of that opportunity, but also you miss being able to give your clients the best advice and the best kind of programming that they deserve as well.
What would be the most important learning advice you would give them as well in regards to really thriving in their job, so they feel supported without causing any kind of burnout?
Looking after themselves, number one, obviously well-being, that mental health, understanding the triggers of yourself and that potential burnout position, having good people around you. And obviously I work within a company that supports people from management to learning to master trainers. That's really important. Having people that you can obviously have conversations with, people that you can discuss your challenges, people that you can discuss your ideas and your opportunities with, but also then getting that balance of your rest, your recovery, your sleep, which is really tough when, we've just alluded to the fact that PTing is really hard work and you've got to put a lot of time in, but definitely you've got to look after yourself first. You've got to keep learning, and you've got to keep those communication channels open, particularly if you're struggling.
Shelley, if you had a magic wand, what would be one thing you would change in the fitness industry that would support trainers?
Oh, gosh. If I had a magic wand, we would be recognised for the professional status that we exude. I think I liken it to like physiotherapists and architects. You can't continue to do those kind of roles without being professionally recognised. You have to be a member of a governing body. You have to be a charter. And that's supported and encouraged in a positive way, rather than it being step back, in that we can do that within our sector, but it's something that you would have to pay for, or you would have to go and seek out, or it's not supported and encouraged from an organisational perspective, from a learning perspective, albeit it is changing and there are some really kind of key movements in that direction. But I would love for us to be recognised. I would love for us to be able to ask for the salaries, if you like for like in a different sector, those salaries are so different. But also that recognition piece of how we are influencing people, how we are influencing health, how we're influencing social value, and how we're influencing kind of the day-to-day mental health and well-being of people in general. And that conversation and that kind of flow be more prevalent in a government platform, in school platform, in any arena, so that the importance of what we do isn't ever questioned. We don't question it as individuals that work within the sector, but equally in not questioning it allows anyone that thinks that this is where they should be going is exactly the right place to be going. And then hopefully that means we attract more people.
And what are your thoughts on digital platform presence, and especially why is it a must-have skill at this day and age?
Oh gosh, absolutely is a must skill. And we can shy away from it. We can say it's stealing our jobs or it's doing this, but actually no, it's helping us do better and it's helping us reach more. Digitalization is not going anywhere. So if we stick our head in the sand and we avoid, or we kind of procrastinate around how we as a business, whether that's a PT business, whether that is a corporate business that offers lots of different facilities, that digitalization piece is a must, because that's where the world's going. I mean, AI is just around the corner as well. So I think rather than fear it, rather than kind of see it as a competitor, see it as an asset, see it as a tool, and see it as some way of really enhancing you as an individual, but also enhancing you as you kind of develop and move into the role that you've chosen within. It's obviously we're talking about health and fitness and leisure, aren't we? But I think the other thing as well is it allows more people to learn the way they need to learn as well. So we've got so many different variables, audio, visual, kinesthetic. We need to be able to open up so that our neurodivergent clients and customers and workforce can keep learning. And this digitalization and the way that it's moving forward is just allowing for that opportunity to really, really thrive.
So I just want to know, like, what you sort of been noticing or what you sort of been hearing from the trainers, especially in regards to, as you mentioned, I cannot agree more, like, I think this is the future. And how are they adapting to these changes? How are they accepting it? How are they feeling? What's the general vibe there?
Again, it's those that do accept and those that move with it. They're the ones with those open mindsets, right? And the mindset is probably the biggest challenge. And for a number of reasons, but yeah, mindset is definitely key in kind of adopting those new approaches and using those new tools. From within the kind of pools of people I'm talking about, they say that they like it, but again, maybe that trepidation or that fear or that lack of confidence on how to really use it, is that missing? Is that something that we need to help bridge the gap with? How it's delivered as well. I think there's a big difference back in the day to a YouTube video that teaches you how to do, let's go group X, to where we are right now, where you can get really into it and actually create things for yourself, learn from other people, pull it together, take the best pieces of X and make it your USP. So I think it is how we are supporting them into that transition, the standard of the content that we're obviously asking them to work with, but also how we're supporting them to take it on board when maybe their skill set hasn't quite reached that digital kind of arena. So it's how we really support them. And I think that's a challenge as well that we need to kind of really think about.
So you see, I can just share a little bit of my personal story, because obviously I didn't know where to start. It's very overwhelming. You need to have a website, you need to have a content, you need to have a program, you need to have some leading magnets. So there are so many components which you come across, and it can just stop you because you don't know where to start. And I was really lucky, obviously, I came across traineego, because that just really, their first step into the digital world was just simplified for me, because I was able to find everything just in one platform. But I think it can be quite overwhelming. So I just wanted to build on this to find out how because I'm in my midlife, and again, this is a new learning curve, new experience, and something I could try away from, or I can just embrace it and say, listen, let's go, let's do it. Let's see how this feels. So how are you sort of, especially you as a leader, you're probably working with a lot of female managers and staff who are actually maybe thinking about this digital kind of world. What you kind of hearing from them, or how they're coping with it?
I think the important part here is exactly recognizing and understanding the trainers that you are working with and what their fears and their kind of barriers are. I think with regards to something like traineego, which is a phenomenal platform of support, of tools and resources, kind of goes back to your qualification is your first step, but actually that business element, that kind of how you become really successful, that is again still that missing piece, particularly in the education. So you might get a little teaser taster of it, but actually you're then led, you come out of your qualification and you're a personal trainer. Well, actually, no, you're not yet. You've got to have that business platform. You've got to have that website. You've got to have that kind of confidence to be able to support it, manage it, and keep it updated. And that requires even more skill set and even more tools. So from my perspective as a leader, I try and educate people to know and embrace that. I try and introduce them to something like a traineego, whereby it might not be something as an employer that we provide, but actually it's a resource that you can tap into, do so, because it will enhance you or benefit you. We try and bridge the gaps with those business skills and maybe the marketing or the promotional elements that might again feel alien, feel like they're out of reach. How we can really signpost them into the right places and get the right education and the right kind of information to be able to deliver on that. And I think from a female perspective, there's lots of additional barriers that might sit in there as well, because again, it's a sector that doesn't necessarily hold that 50-50. So it's shifting, it's changing, but you've got that mindset of it's imposter syndrome in a male dominated sector. So we've then got to bridge the gap even more and say, right, do this, get your qualification, use these platforms to really embrace all of the avenues that you have to be successful, whether that's online, whether that's through an app, whether that's face-to-face. And it's just that as a leader, you open up that opportunity, you signpost in the right direction, and you also recognize where maybe you don't have all of that skill set. So it's not restrictive. Again, continue learning and developing, so potentially you go on the journey with them.
Elaborate on your answer. Why we not there quite yet? Why is there 50-50 split gender?
The challenge with gender, obvious reasons is obviously females are mothers, females are directly carers, females have historically been the lesser earner. We obviously all attract group exercise fields. So I think there's lots of stereotyping within our sector that obviously prevents that female male being really, really balanced. We probably as a gender as well, we shy away from challenge and and confidence and being able to really showcase our egos. Don't get me wrong, there are individuals that will be able to do that, but I think the natural position for a female to be would be behind as opposed to in front. And I think that's where we can absolutely thrive again as a sector if we get that balance right. We attract and we value. And again, all around what we've already discussed around training, value, professionalism, we need to really, really showcase that to both males and females. We need to support our females in their journey in life. So again, that's our young ones. Hormonal challenges, then we go into whether or not I'm going to be a parent, whether or not that is impacted by whether I've got access to flexible working, whether or not I am given the opportunity to apply for that job, but equally if I do step out for child, I come back in and I'm still given the same value and the same professional kind of recognition. Certainly from my own perspective, I really love what I do. I feel like I do it really well, but I get imposter syndrome a lot. I kind of go in, particularly to arenas where there are lots of men. It is very much a male-driven sector when it comes to PTing. And then that kind of allows you to kind of step back and go, right, okay, hold on. I'm really good at what I do. I've got the qualifications. I've got the experience. And more so I've got the empathy, which I think sometimes our male counterparts don't always have. But again, it's always down to that mindset piece. And I think as females, looking at our industry, in our industry, just remind yourself that having that open mindset is absolutely one of your strongest assets, because it will allow you to adapt, it will allow you to develop yourself, it will allow you to be self-aware, and it will allow you to keep being and bringing your best self to your role and to the people around you. And that includes family as well as your workforce. And I think getting that authentic balance is hugely important.
And if a leader or fitness trainer is listening to us today, what would be one key takeaway you would want them to walk away with?
Success is within grasp. You've just got to see the opportunities, really be open to the different platforms that are around, really be open to the different advice and expertise that's around. Depending on where you do work, depending on the kind of circles that you either are being qualified in or educated in, there is so much knowledge out there. Tap into it. And then also speak up. If there's things that you think you need that you don't have access to, let people know that can make that change and kind of open those doors for you, but also talk to the people that can obviously bridge it from a learning training provider. Because again, what I love about traineego is they get to feed back into the platform that they're learning from. So it becomes an all-round 360 learning, feedback, growth, development hub. And I think that's really important.
Thank you so much, Shelley. It's an absolute pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you very much for having me.